Particular interest to me then would be your relationship with my grandmother and what she was like.
She she and Lewis, Big Lewis, used to come over to the store and the whole family would be with them. And we were just tickled to death. And there was we kids would walk over to her house through the woods and go over and sometimes spend a week with her. And she treated us just like she treated her children.
So you would spend the week over there in that little house with all those kids already crammed in there together.
Yeah, you know, over the kitchen, Lewis had fixed a room.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way to get to it was you could crawl through the attic to get back to the other bedroom. But there was a ladder, just a regular ladder, up to that room. And that's where I'd sleep with Lewis. Had two little beds up there.
That must have been before they had the wraparound porch, because they have steps to go up to that room now.
Yeah, I know it. That
But there was a
after,
ladder in those days.
That was after my childhood.
Okay, there was a ladder then.
Just a ladder going up there. And of course Dawn was just a baby. And
So that was the room that Lewis had back then.
right.
Okay. So so he didn't have to sleep in the hallway the way as I thought.
Well, he did before that. And I must not have been but 6, 7, 8 years old when I started walking over there by myself. Now, I went to the first grade at the same school that Lewis and Mariah and the rest of the kids went.
Which would have been Fleetwood.
Old
Fleetwood.
Old Fleetwood. And I was in the first grade when Lewis and Mariah were seniors at the same school. Lewis and I were always close. Little young Lewis. Big Lewis would come by. Sometime little Lewis would be with him. Sometime later, when young Lewis was working somewhere else, he'd come by and pick up Frank and me on Saturday morning. We'd ride with him all the way back up in the mountains and so forth, and he'd pick up people's cattle. He'd either buy them or take them on consignment, and we'd haul them to Charlottesville, to the stock market, which was 2 blocks off of Main Street, down on Water Street. The stockyard was on Water Street. I remember one time that Frank and I were with him. Little Lewis wasn't with us. And we picked up we called him a hobo in Livingston. And we got down to, I'd say about 5 miles south of Charlottesville. And we were going around a curve, and the dual wheels on the back right side came off, and tires rolled down the road. We went, found the tires, got them back up there, found a few lug nuts. The hobo just said, "Well, I'll see y'all." He left. And there's a plate that goes on in between the wheels, and he had to have that plate. And Frank and I went over and found that thing in the creek. And we jacked it up. One of the cows' leg had fallen through the floorboard. And we jacked that thing up and got the tires patched and pumped up. Went on to Shawsville. Big Lewis chewed tobacco, and he'd spit the tobacco right out on the floor between his legs.
In the truck.
Yeah. He was a fine man to all of us. We loved him, and he would grow some of the biggest watermelons you ever saw in your life. And he'd come over and have straw all in the cattle truck, have all his kids and family with him, and pick all of us up, and we'd go up on the river for a picnic and have that watermelon. And they'd have other things too, but the watermelon was.
Where was he growing the watermelons? Down in the creek bed, creek bottom?
Up a road, up a road toward Price's house.
Right.
Right before you get to the creek.
Okay, that's what I thought. That low land.
Yeah. Oh, he grew some of the nicest watermelons you ever saw. And of course, he grew apples and he farmed, and he mostly dealt in cattle. And he would take a cattle, he'd either buy the cattle from people or take a consignment from them, and he'd come here and sell them, and he'd tell them what he sold the cow for, and he'd take a certain percentage of it.